Frack on. Welcome to another episode of Frack the Canon. I am joined by the coolest motherfuckers around. I am joined by my brother from another mother, Mr. CJ McCree from Milwaukee. How you doing, sir?
Hold on to your butts.
Tyler Ruiz, how you doing?
Doing great. Really excited to talk about my favorite movie today.
And last but not least, someone who hasn't joined us in almost a year, I want to say, Miss Sarah Kinney. How have you been?
I've been good. Hanging
How
in
is
babyland.
How is parent life treating you?
It's pretty good. Like my child's starting to talk now, so it's like the cutest thing ever. So I'm sure everyone wants to hear about my baby on the show. So
I do.
What's the first word?
bye.
Hi.
That is adorable. All right. What else? Anything else before we move on to the topic at hand? Okay, so since this year is the 30th anniversary of one of my favorite movies of all time, as Tyler said, Jurassic Park, the original, we thought we'd take a look back and see how we were affected 30 years later. I did a version in Spanish with my cousins in Mexico, and as we're talking about, like, dude, this was really a big pivotal moment, not only in like cinematic history, but like for me personally, I'm like, dude, like we were witnessing like cinema history at that time. Like it was a CGI, it was a mixture of the animatronics, and in hindsight, I'm like, dude, like we've seen so much of that because that was movie that take two. We have seen so much advancement from that movie forward because of this movie alone. I'm like, what do you guys think about that or feel about that?
I completely agree. Go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, I mean, I would. Was just about to say, yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree, and like, I think it's interesting that movie it was like it's big now. We remember it being this big thing, but it was huge when it came out. You know what I mean? Even you know what I mean? Like it was this big thing that's big in a way that movies that aren't tied to like big franchises already or superhero like licenses or other things aren't typically. You know what I mean? But here is this movie. Of course, it was a Spielberg movie. You know what I mean? But like him alone, you know what I mean, doesn't, he brings audience with him, but not like something like what Jurassic Park was doing, you know what I mean? Like Jurassic Park was like the movie to have seen when you've seen it. Little tiny anecdote. I remember I saw Jurassic Park the summer before going into second grade. And I remember being in second grade arguing with this kid who's like, no, you haven't. I can't wait to see Jurassic Park. And I'm like, yeah, I saw it. You know what I mean? He's like, no, you haven't seen it. It's PG-13. You couldn't have seen it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, I don't know. My parents are more lax, I guess. But, anyways.
Tyler, Sarah?
Is it PG-13?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
I think it is.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. You know what? If there only was a machine that would tell us this information.
I mean,
Sarah,
I mean,
Tyler,
there's literally like missing limbs in it.
Oh, Mr. Arnold.
You know what I mean? Like I'm pretty sure.
There is some
yeah.
dinosaur violence.
there's some smoking in that movie too. I'm like,
Yeah, but that was like before I feel like the smoking thing was a thing.
Yeah, there was smoking in Roger Rabbit. You know what I mean?
Was
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
A baby had a cigar in its mouth. You know?
Oh, that's right. That is right. Another Spielberg.
Yeah.
All right, Tyler, Sarah.
Yeah. So I said earlier it's my favorite movie. Actually, it's like one of my earliest childhood memories. I went to theater. When I was a kid growing up, I really wanted to be a paleontologist. Like really, really, really. And my parents took me to see Jurassic Park. I was 5, I think. And then I just kept wanting to go back. I saw it in theaters 5 times as a kid. And then for the 25th anniversary, I went twice in theaters. So it holds the record for movie I've seen most in theaters for me. And to tack on to what you're talking about technically, it being cinematically relevant, Phil Tippett, who is one of the most influential visual effects artists ever, who worked on Star Wars 2, also worked on Jurassic Park. He said that he thinks Jurassic Park is actually the most significant movie in cinema history regarding visual effects, and I will second that.
Sarah.
Well, for me, it was like the first movie that wasn't like an animated kids movie that I have a memory of watching. Like, I don't think I saw in theaters, but it was like the ultimate sleepover movie. Like, you go to a friend's house, like, let's watch Jurassic Park. And like, I just remember as a kid, be like the guy getting eaten off the toilet was like the funniest thing I have ever seen in my life. But like for now as an adult, like and a Lego fan, like I love that it spanned its own series of Lego sets and even like Duplo sets for like little kids, and there's a whole like Lego video game. So it's just like become this like phenomenon all on its own, even with the further movies. It's just, from a guy getting off a toilet to like, this huge franchise.
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah.
It's funny too because I was reminiscing with my cousins about the first movie. I'm like, this was the first movie I saw more than once in the theaters. I'm like, because I remember like you have to see it again. But my friends are like, I'm like, I need to see it again. I need to see it again. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a novelization that came out for the movie that came with pictures. So it had to, I'm like, it's a book that made it to a movie, that made it to a book again, based on the movie, based on the book. And that was the first time I was like, I would read. I tried to read everything as much as I could, but it was my first like fan. The first movie I ever became a fan of. I'm like, I need to know everything I can about this. And so like, I just like it just like it took. I remember, yeah. Were we in second grade? Because it came out in '93. Was that the summer of second grade? Between first and second, it's got to be right.
I don't know.
You would be 7 or 8.
I was '93. I was 7. Yeah. So,
yeah.
But I remember like I was the first. I bugged them. I remember there's one thing my cousin said that I kind of remember. Like, so we'll talk about this too. This is one of my favorite scenes, but it still scared me in the movie. And we'll talk about what your favorite scenes are. Go ahead, TJ.
Well, you know what? Before. Oh, okay. You were kind of freezing there. I was wondering, was that me or is that?
No, that was me.
Oh, okay, got you. I wanted to kind of like put a pin in that because what you said, I wanted to jump off of what you said a little bit, like kind of like the fandomness of it. Like what is some of the stuff? Because I was like the right age for the fandom of Jurassic Park, right? So I had some stuff. Like that's what I'm kind of curious in right now. What is some of the stuff that you guys kind of had? Like I'll kind of go first. I did have, I had several action figures. I had the little the car thing, right? Like the car thing that they have, the Jeep, that's on automated or whatever, for the tour, with like battle damage or whatever, you know what I mean? The little piece would come off. I had a Raptor. I had a Dilophosaurus because that was like my favorite at the time, and had the little freaking thing, you know what I mean? That was cool. And it spit something, you know what I mean? And I like Mortal Kombat, and it was like Reptile, but freaking, and then I had like a compound base that I got for Christmas, like the with like the little wires or whatever. Man, I got so much use out of that. But yeah, I'm super interested in, like did anybody else have any like toys or any kind of thing like that?
Yep. Yeah, I had the same
that at all.
yeah, I had the same the green tour SUV with the pop-up glass. You could stick figures in. I had a little Alan Grant to go with that. I had Raptor and the Dilophosaurus as well. Also the T-Rex battle damage. You could take the rib out.
I remember that.
Yeah, and just to share randomly, I'm still collecting. I got this over at Comic-Con. Jurassic Park 30th anniversary. So
nice.
Yeah. And I'll share this really quick because you're talking a little bit about, it's one of the most merched movies ever, and kids nowadays, there's nothing really like it. Like a lot of people say often, this is regards to visual effects, and the blockbusterness, like it's our generation's Star Wars because of just how much stuff people bought from it. And also shout out this too. I remember going to Universal Studios for the opening of the Jurassic Park ride or whatever, and there was just merch everywhere. And it was like for like half the 90s, everyone had like a Jurassic Park lunch pail or backpack or something.
Steph, Sarah, did you have any like kind of?
I don't know, maybe like I don't really think it was because I was a girl or anything, but I didn't really have any of the Jurassic Park toys. But I just think it was, I don't know. I think people got me girl toys at birthday parties.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that was like just a little interlude. Back to what you were talking about, the favorite scenes, right? I I mean, there's so many scenes that I love in this movie. I love the like I've always had this fascinating with electricity. I love the climbing up and down. Like it's so like so much of this movie is so like on edge of your seat, like you know what I mean? It's like a master of like tension. But like I love the climbing up and down like the freaking electric scene and like the effect of Tim getting blasted off of the thing is so rad. Actually, it's such a rad like effect. You know what I mean? Just like and boom, he's just like electrocuted and launched. But like also a little anecdote to the scene, like because I have a history with it. But honorable mention, when I was a kid, and saw this in theaters, I was teased for this for like, because you know it took forever for stuff to get on video. You know what I mean? Like, so I was like teased for this forever by both my brother and my sister because the scene when they're in the kitchen and like the raptor's like, oh, speaking of tension, right? Like the craziest, and it's still hard for me to watch it today, right? Like, but the scene where like, you know what I mean? She's trying to get in the thing, trying to get into the little cupboard or whatever, and like the raptor's like about to get her. Like, so obviously when I'm a kid, I'm like, I shut my eyes, you know what I mean? I'm just like, oh no. And then like, you know, pop it up and it's just like, oh, how'd she get out of that? You know, and my little sister is just like, oh, you should have watched, you know what I mean? Like freaking, so I get like freaking like made fun of forever, like until like we finally got it on video and I was able to see like how, and I remember like almost covering my eyes again when we got it on video and like we watched it for the first time. I remember like almost covering my eyes and I'm just like forcing them down, like, no, I must see. Like, but anyways.
Tyler, Sarah.
Well,
My favorite. Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
are you sure? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I let's lead off what CJ said. Like the whole like the raptors being able to open the doorknobs was such a big thing because it was like, what would the dinosaurs do in our like timeline? Because you know, of course, we never crossed paths before like we recreated them, and that was just, I remember that being like, oh my god, they're gonna get us, like they're super smart. And then like I remember as a kid like the really violent stuff being really vivid because it was just so shocking coming from like being so young. But like when oh god, what's her name, like this had Sam Jackson's arm, like, and she's like thinks she's safe, and then you're like, oh no, like stuff went down here. But all this stuff, as CJ said, like there's a lot of tension that they build up in these little scenes. Even when the bad guy's trying to escape and the spitting dinosaur is like,
oh, nice boy. Nice boy. Nice dinosaur. Oh, thought you were one of your big brothers. You're not so bad. You're not so bad. What do you want? What do you want? You want food? Look at me. I just fell down a hill. I'm soaking wet. I don't have any food.
coming after him, like all like there's just all these little tense moments that really make it great.
Yeah, to leap off what Sarah said, yeah, it's like a Spielberg masterclass in tension. And I think the culmination, the climax of tension in this movie is the kitchen scene. I used to do the camps over at the state, one of the stations this show airs at, and to teach like editing and storyboarding, I would always use, for example, the kitchen scene, because Spielberg, every like frame had it drawn out, of like what's gonna happen, and you count the cuts. It's like a 2.5 minute scene, and it has like, I don't know, like 175 cuts or whatever. It's insane. It's insane. Like, oh, well over 100 cuts in like like just over 2 minutes. It's crazy.
No, just that's everyone knows that was my favorite scene because like CJ, I remember same thing was like, how are they gonna get out? I literally did this because my cousin made fun of me. I did this, and I did this again, and I'm like, and then my aunt and my cousin because I was. So here's the thing, like they're very strict about it because I was in Mexico and I did not want to go to Mexico. I'm like, I don't want to go. I want to stay to watch this movie. My mom's gonna get. They're gonna get there eventually. I'm like, yeah, but not in time. They'll be here first. I want to hear first. So when I finally did see it, I'm like, well, whatever. Okay, I'll see. I finally saw it. I'm like, they wouldn't let me in because they're like, you're 7 years old. You have to be, and they're pretty strict about that. You have to be at least 15 to get in. And they're like, well, he's not like he doesn't look 15. They're like, but he's tall enough, so they might buy it. So they kind of stuck me and say, how old is he? They're like, he's 15. Because I'm taller than my cousin at the time was 13, 14. So they let me in. 7-year-old kid, 7-year-old American kid. And I'm just like, yeah, that one. And oh, the Dilophosaurus scene, that scene where the thing just, it spiked out. I literally jumped off my seat because I'm like, dude, what? I didn't expect that at all. I didn't know what a Dilophosaurus was till that movie. And then yeah, that was just those two scenes messed me up, fracked me up for life.
Love it.
Favorite character, favorite moments, like besides that, anything else that? How else did this affect you guys? Because I just remember thinking like, again, talking about it, I'm like, this was a very like transcending experience, for lack of a better word. I'm like, I don't know. I just remember being like, this is special. I remember thinking that, like, I don't know why. And then I'm like, dude, we lived through a very special moment in cinema history. How did you guys feel about that in hindsight?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why Spielberg was so successful is like there's this, and I feel like he's said something to the effect of like the dreamlike quality of film, but like he does tend to incorporate like this sense of wonder in his movies that, you know what I mean, like that make it's like the essence of what a movie is, right? Like, and it's like on some level Spielberg understands that, you know what I mean, like, and time and time again he brings that, and so like I'm bringing that up just to say, like, because I was just talking about, like, how at sometimes and at a lot of times he can be a master of tension and amping the tension up, but at the same time, like this movie, like there are slower moments where like even the characters are appreciating the wonder of what's happening. Like, whoa, like look at these freaking brontosauruses, dude! Like they're freaking just strolling around, like this is majestic, and like or even like when Alan Grant and the kids are like, you know what I mean, they're lost in the park now, but they're up in the tree and they're like having this like cool moment, you know what I mean, like, and it's just kind of like the wonder of like the situation or whatever, and it's like a time to breathe or whatever. It's just, it's a brilliant movie, which we've all been saying like over and over again, but yeah, it's just like a brilliant movie. It has wonderful pacing to it, but yeah.
Well, I think he planned the characters well, because like when I was little, like I really liked the grandkids characters. Like I could relate to them when I first saw the movie, but if I watch it now, I'm like, oh, Jeff Goldblum is like the funniest. Like I feel like there's enough variety in there that like people of all ages can like find their spots in it.
It's funny because I didn't, as a kid, I'm like, no, they're wrong. So, like, we should keep the park. But now as an adult, I'm like, Ian Michael played all the way. Life does find a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So to tack on to what everyone was saying, I think the biggest difference between the Michael Crichton novel and Jurassic Park is like the characters are very different in the book, and I'll just say this if you haven't read the book, spoiler alert. The novel isn't very as like happy ending, and it's a lot more traumatic. But I'll share this. Steven Spielberg made a point to connect with the audience through its characters, and I think he made like Alan Grant be like the everyman, and there's like this, and upon rewatching as I got older, I started to really appreciate this. That there is the kind of subplot about Alan Grant learning he could like deal with kids or whatever, and in that iteration of the movie, if you just take Jurassic Park alone and not include the Jurassic World stuff or Jurassic Park 3, it was this whole thing about the barrier between Ellie Sattler and Alan Grant was like Alan Grant didn't want kids and Ellie wanted kids, and that's why they just weren't dating. So they kind of masterfully like have him, for lack of a better term, come of age and accept responsibility of like kids or whatever. And then the whole kind of the thing at the end where they're flying out the helicopter and Ellie's like really happily looking at him with him having Tim and Lexi on his arms, and he's like happy about I saved their life. That sort of like ending is like, hey, they're gonna be together now, and that sadly didn't happen. But I'll just share Alan Grant is my guy in the movie.
Okay, last question. This is the most important one. Favorite dinosaur in the movie?
T-Rex. Yeah, that's
Right.
right.
Sarah, CJ?
Raptor.
Well, I don't know. It's a hard choice. I think the Triceratops at the beginning when they're like, because I feel like that's the first one they actually interact with, and it's such like a magical moment for them. And that was really cool.
Just for the sake of variety, I'm gonna say Dilophosaurus. My real answer is Raptor, but I'm gonna say Dilophosaurus for the sake of variety.
The most made up power.
Which is the Dilophosaurus or the Raptor?
The Dilophosaurus,
Oh.
like
Because
there's
the
no.
Raptor, what I liked about the Raptor was this little thing, little claw, and I like how it taunted.
Oh,
the
that's
kid.
real. That's
That
real.
was the scene. That's what I'm like. Oh, this is evil. This thing's evil. Alrighty. Final comments, final thoughts on Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Just for me, Jurassic Park's been a majorly influential thing in my life, and my wife and I actually made going to Kauai our honeymoon, and that's why I'm wearing this shirt. Kauai. That's where they shot a lot of Jurassic Park. Hurricane Iniki is seen in the filming of Jurassic Park, and we went to Kipu Ranch and everything, where a lot of the scenes of Jurassic Park, as well as other movies like Indiana Jones and stuff, were shot. But I'll just share. I have happy dreams about Jurassic Park. Like I listen to the Jurassic Park soundtrack if I want to just like meditate. And to this day, I'll watch Jurassic Park and I'll like tear up at the beginning with the helicopter flying in and everything. Like, and I know there's a lot of people out there like me. And thank you, Steven Spielberg, for making Jurassic Park.
I remember there was a time where there was almost no school band or no school function where that Jurassic Park theme was not being played. I'm like, all right, maybe if you be on key, but I'm like, I know what you're doing. But yeah, that theme song, When I Die, is gonna be one of the last things I forget about. One of the things that come into my mind.
Played in your funeral.
No, not that one. It's gonna be my Power Rangers. But well, it's gonna be one of the songs in the compilations. Sarah, CJ.
Oh, I say let your kids watch it. It's I feel like I watched it when I was really young, and you know, keep it going. It's a really fun movie. And yeah, I just, you know, it's a touch point for my childhood, really.
I would agree. Like I feel like it's like it's definitely a movie for all ages. And that's kind of like the beauty of it. But like when Sarah says like let your kids watch it, like there are some movies that like there's a magic to them that you don't get unless you're a kid. You know what I mean? Like the Indiana Joneses, like the Star Wars is, like all of those, like the Back to the Futures, even like, yeah, you can appreciate these as an adult. But like if they don't catch you when you're a kid, like, you know what I mean? Like it's like there's something special about them, like as a kid watching this, like this Jurassic Park it's kind of like a kid's horror movie if you think about it. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't know, it's great. But yeah, final thoughts. Like, I love this movie. I grew up loving this movie. I loved it for a long time. Like, it's one of the few movies I can kind of watch anytime, like, and kind of jump in at any point, like if it's just on TV or whatever. It's just like, oh, Jurassic Park, okay, cool. Like, freaking, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I don't want to say it's a perfect movie, but it's just like a perfect movie that I could just watch anytime. You know what I mean? Just like a perfect movie for me, I guess. But we didn't talk about a lot about, just except for in this last point, like the soundtrack or whatever. But like, yeah, love it. Yeah, love the soundtrack. Freaking have loved it for a long time. You know what I mean? And yeah, it does it. It does it for me. Just hearing it. You know what I mean? It does it for me. I love it.
And for me, that was one of the things that started getting me into movies. I'm like, I need to do everything about this movie. Like, who will do the music? Like, if that makes any sense, like, it's kind of like I needed to learn as much as I could, and the music, the soundtrack was also one of them too. It was just so iconic. Like, I can't. Besides Jaws, and I would say this too. This is our generation's Jaws.
Yeah,
I would say. But yeah, you forgot my line. What my line?
Aye.
I don't know what else to say. I am tired. I've had a long past 2 weeks. Sarah, oh yeah, you said yours. Everyone said the final thoughts, final comments.
Well, do you want to do what we're watching?
Let's
Since
do it.
I'm here.
You're here.
Oh
Sarah, what are you
God, not
watching?
okay. So I keep promoting it. Sister Wives, the next season comes out August 20th. There's so much drama. I absolutely love it. Like, now that I have a kid, I need my little packets of drama. I wish everyone on the show the best, but please keep making it because I cannot stop watching. And I finished Andor, so if you haven't seen that one, it is also really, really good.
Yes,
That's like that quality television that I'm watching.
I would second that. I feel that is the most adult Star Wars show I've ever seen, and I think my favorite show of Star Wars so far.
Yeah,
So,
I have a few problems with it, but anyway, this is not the platform to get into that. But
we have.
future
But,
episode.
yeah,
Tyler.
I love it and I recommend it. So
Tyler?
I
You
oh. All right. Well, yeah, I'll just go since I started. I don't know. I've been pretty boring lately. I just been kind of watching One Piece, I guess. And then
Is that in preparation for the live action show?
Mm-hmm.
no, it's just because I watch One Piece and there's a million episodes and I'm not current. So
1087
How far are
or
you
something.
for those few? Can you explain to for those not in the know how big it is and where are you in how big it is?
I think Tyler's about to say I think they're like 1070-ish area. I am like 970-ish.
Okay, you're pretty caught up.
I'm
Yeah.
current arc, I should say. I'm current arc, just like 100 episodes behind though. Like in the freaking in the grand scheme of things. So oh, and also yes, I've been watching One Piece, but I also there's like a huge like anime sale, like digital anime sale, right? And they had the entire series of Bleach on sale for like $100, right? Like, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna buy that. And so I bought that, and I've been, because I never watched the entire series of Bleach. But I got to an indeterminate space that I can't remember. So I've been basically rewatching Bleach from the start as well. And I am now in the Assault on Soul Reaper arc. I don't know what the actual title for that arc is called, but I am mid that. Ichigo is about to fight Kenpachi.
Yeah, so funny thing, I am also rewatching One Piece and in preparation for the Netflix. And yeah, it is I've never made it. I've only made it like halfway, and then I'm starting over. And other than that, my wife and I are rewatching House, and we're almost done with it. We're halfway through the last season. And I am ready to just shouting out a show coming out with season 2, Invincible. They just came out with a special to hype up the new season, and I just watched it, and it's great, but it's also rated M for mature. So if you are an adolescent, I advise a parent to be in the room for that special.
Thank you for covering our butts legally, Kyler. Oh, it's my turn, right? What am I watching? What am I not watching? So I'm watching Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which is a prequel to TOS, the original series. I like it a lot. It's really good. It's really well written. I like that it's episodic. It's in the spirit of the original series. I'm also watching. So I got Crunchyroll because I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give myself a little bit of money, and because they finally released Saint Seiya, like uncensored here with all the episodes, it's a little bit jarring for me because I'm so used to the Spanish cast. So for me, hearing the voice of the cast in English is kind of weird. Like one of them is played by Bakugo. I'm like, not Bakugo. Yeah, Bakugo. I'm like, wait, what? That's not no. So it took me some time for my brain to get used to it. And what else am I watching? I am watching. Oh yeah, this just started too. The new season of Futurama on Hulu. I don't know why I'm watching it because I'm like, it's been canceled so many times and restarted so many times. That's come like CJ said.
Great show.
And yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. I highly recommend Star Trek: Strange New Worlds for all the Star Trek fans. Alrighty.
One thing that you just said though, I haven't watched any of the new Futurama, but I will say to its credit, like Futurama is one of the few shows that gets canceled, comes back, and still like kind of has it. Like I will say that like typically I'm just like, oh, like no, they're still firing, kind of like you know.
The first episode was pretty critical of Hulu, but it so was also a Fox and cable comedy. Jesus, Comedy Central.
Matt Groening is a time traveler.
Oh my god, I'm so tired and I'm so hungover too. Alrighty. Thank you guys. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you same fracking time, same fracking channel. Frack off. We spared no expense.